I'd like to take a few moments to talk to you about the amazing power inside your mind. When the powers of the mind have been harnessed properly, you can improve your memory and your ability to learn things at great speeds. You can achieve what seems like impossible goals, explore mystical states of being which not only elevate your mind, but help you to grow as a person. People have used the power of the mind to help them heal the body or overcome troubling emotions like fears, angers, or phobias. Even deep-seated things like post-traumatic stress disorder have been removed and healed using the power of the mind and hypnosis. Using the mind in the right way, you can learn to not only control pain, but in many cases, completely eradicate it. And of course, people have used it in everyday situations like losing weight, destroying the stress in their life, and many more things besides. Now, it would take me days to take you through all the things that a trained mind can really do. As we only have some limited time here, what I'd like to do instead is to run you through a couple of different categories of ways that people have used the power of their minds to achieve what seems like truly amazing things. Now, where better to start than with the category I'd like to call performance enhancement. Throughout the history of sports, people have looked for some kind of an edge that will allow them to be just a little bit faster, quicker, better, stronger than the competition. But it wasn't until the 20th century that people started to look to the power of their minds as that edge. In 1956, during the Olympic Games in Melbourne, the former USSR made history by bringing 11 hypnotists with them to the Olympic Games, which helped their athletes to win the gold medals. Now, the athletes did so well in those games with the help of these 11 hypnotists that it started the Russian domination of the Olympic Games throughout the most of the 20th century. At the time, they used a technique called hypnotic mental rehearsals, where the athletes would mentally rehearse the perfect technique, the perfect match, so that they could reproduce it almost unconsciously and intuitively at the right time. This won them many Olympic gold medals, especially in the categories of gymnastics and powerlifting. Now, it took some years for the West to catch up, but when they did, they also started to win. Take the boxer Ken Norton. In 1973, he used hypnosis to prepare himself for a fight with the famous Muhammad Ali. Now, at the time, the odds were 7-1 against Ken Norton winning. Despite these incredible odds, Ken Norton beat the famous Muhammad Ali, who many people say was the best boxer of all time. Let's fast forward a few years to 1984. We're at the LA Olympic Games. Mary Lou Retton is just 16 years old, but she's been using self-hypnosis every day to prepare her for her chance at the Olympic Games. Now, she was doing great through the entire Games until disaster struck on her final day. She injured her foot. Once again, she turned to the power of self-hypnosis that she had been practicing so carefully throughout in order to help her to block out the pain. Now, not only did she manage to compete in her final event, she did so well that she won the Olympic gold despite her injury. A few years later, in 1988, at the Seoul Olympic Games, Greg Louganis, the Olympic diver, had a terrible accident in which he smashed the back of his head against the diving board. His injury was so severe that his head needed stitches straight away. Now, most competitors would have bowed out at this point, but not Greg. You see, he'd been using the power of hypnosis and self-hypnosis to prepare himself, and he was so convinced he could make the gold that despite this tragic accident, he climbed right back up from that board and completed his second dive. Now, here's a testament to the power of his mind. Despite the accident, his mind did not turn towards lack of confidence, fear, and so on, as many other athletes would have done. In fact, his mind was so focused on getting it right, he performed what many say was the most perfect dive in diving history, and with it, he won the Olympic gold. In 2008, in Beijing, Glenn Eller and Vincent Hancock used hypnosis to reach Olympic gold during their shooting events. Now, what's interesting about these two is that they were part of the American shooting team. They were the only 2 Americans in the shooting team to use hypnosis, and they were the only 2 Americans to win Olympic gold. So you can see that hypnosis is a very powerful tool. Many top athletes have turned to it now as their edge. People like Tiger Woods in golf, Wayne Gretzky in hockey, Nolan Ryan in baseball, George Brett also in baseball, Jack Nicklaus in golf, and many more athletes have turned towards self-hypnosis to harness the power of the mind, to give them their winning edge. Now let's turn to another category. This one I like to call geniuses and problem solving.
To continue with the rest of the training, click the link in the description box to download the videos for free.